We're here in Denver, Colorado with Jeff Clayton of ANTiSEEN. This is a great lineup that you came out with. I mean, you have Zeke, you guys, Joe Buck. This is one of the best lineups I've seen. How did that come about? Well, whose idea was to all get all these great guys together and put the show together?
Well, it helps that all of us are on the same booking agency, Bucket City. That makes it kind of easy. But also, you know, we tour with Joe Buck a lot. We've done 3 tours with this lineup we have now, and all 3 have been with Joe Buck, and we enjoy touring with him. You know, and Zeke, you know, longtime acquaintances and admirers and friends, and goddamn Gallows, you know, they tour constantly, so they were ready to jump on, and so far it's proven to be a really good bill, and we're real happy with the way it's turned out.
Can I ask you, when did you first pick up a microphone, decided, hey, I want to be in a band, I want to sing? When did you first get into that?
The first thing I picked up was a guitar, and that was around 1977. I've been in bands, in and out of bands ever since 1977.
So this is your first show in Denver ever, and you guys have been around 25 plus years or so.
28 years.
28 years.
It's just, you know, it's just hard geographically to get out to this part of the country, especially when we have such limited time that we can even tour. So, you know, it's finally happened, though, and I'm glad to be here. I like your city so far.
I understand that you worked with Zeke on a 7-inch that's coming out or is out, a new song.
It was supposed to be out for the tour, but, you know, like with all independent releases, they very rarely make the due date. And but they are selling advance copies. You know, they take your address and stuff, and they'll send them to you. They're probably at where they were supposed to come before they left on tour. But yeah, it's a single that has Joe Buck singing with Zeke.
Okay.
On one song on the A side, and they're playing one of Joe Buck's songs. And on the B side, it has us doing one song that leads into a song that's just me and Joe Buck together.
So, and is this kind of like a pre-thing to possibly a new album coming up from ANTiSEEN?
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe we'll see something in the future.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys are big wrestling fans. And then we've had Macho Man Randy Savage pass away just recently.
Yeah, we've dedicated pretty much every show since then to him. Ever since New Orleans. All right.
You know, just to ask you about wrestling, you know, I kind of grew up in the late, well, I'd say 80s, but you've been following it, I'm sure, a lot longer than I have. Do you kind of prefer what we have now as opposed to the good old days, the late 70s and the 80s, the WWF?
Of course not, man. I mean, I don't know if it's with everything that everyone thinks hindsight, you know, things that happened a long time ago are better, but, I mean, you can watch videotapes and DVDs and just look. I mean, yes, now the production quality is better. It's reaching a heck of a lot more people, but it's not better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a feud a long time ago could have gone on for a year.
Right.
Now it goes from one pay-per-view to the next because the kids today don't have that long of an attention span.
Yeah, they have about a 30-second.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I understand the business move of that. I understand you got to adjust to the times if you're going to survive and make money, but it doesn't mean I have to like it any better.
Right.
And I don't. I like the old way better. Yeah, so.
Checking out your website, and you have some pretty funny stuff when it comes to reviews on there from a bunch of different people. There was some pretty insulting stuff, but I figured you just wanted to put it up there to expose everybody's opinions. You know, and what? I couldn't believe the opinions I saw on there. What do you think about it?
You know what, man? We figure that negative reviews probably sell more records and CDs for us than positive reviews.
That's true.
Because if you think about it, most people that write the negative reviews, like a long time ago, for instance, I would get a issue of Maximum Rock and Roll, look at all the bad reviews, circle them, and that's what I'd go try to find.
Right.
Because I knew that, you know, all those lefties out there probably hated it because of this, that, and the other. Well, I'll probably like it. And I would say that it was a pretty high percentage of the time that was right. But You know, everyone's entitled to an opinion. That's fine. And we know that what we do is not going to appeal to everyone. I mean, if it appealed to everyone, we'd sure be in a better state right now financially, wouldn't we?
That's true.
But, I mean, you know, people can say what they want about. I mean, a lot of people say nasty stuff about me on the internet all the time, but we post where we're going to be. You know, if they ever want to come on out, say it to any of our faces, you know, we'll be more than happy to hear them out for a minute. Never happens.
Speaking of albums and so forth, and I'm sure you're familiar with people nowadays are recording, they have their basically own home studios with their own computers now. It's pretty cheap to do it that way. Yeah. What do you think about that versus going into the studio like it has been for such a long time versus maybe doing something at home? Would you ever see yourself doing something like that?
Well, man, I want to tell you, our bassist that we have now, John Bowman, he's a whiz kid at recording. And the last couple things we've done, last EPs we've done, yep, we're all done in Joe's living room.
Oh, really? Okay.
And man, we prefer that atmosphere to a studio. The more comfortable we are, and the more we don't have to watch a clock and worry about how much it's costing, and you know, of course, you know, the better we feel, and I think we get a better recording out of it. It may not be as slick as some people prefer, but it's raw enough and good enough for our ears. And in the end, that's really who we try to please.
Over the years, you've probably, you know, kind of went against things. You kind of went do things your way. What do you think about the downloading these days? Everybody getting everything for free, and or do you think you have a good enough fan base that will say buy your new 7-inch, possibly new album coming out? What do you think about all?
I've been asked that quite a few times. I think when people put up our stuff on the internet for people to get for free, I know they're doing it because they just want to get the music out, because no one's gaining anything from it except for the people that get the music.
Yeah.
But it is stealing. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic, but I think our audience, even though they would download, I think a lot of them, maybe most of them, would still buy the stuff from us when they see us at a show. I mean, I could be wrong. I can't predict that, but yeah, as people always ask, you know, are we putting out a new album? Put out a new album, you know, and we're just not in a big hurry to have something else online for everyone to steal. Yeah. So, you know,
that makes
until something changes. I mean, I'm not saying we won't put out another album, but I'm just saying we're not feel like we got to race against time to get it done or anything, you know. So
it kind of discourages you and probably other musicians going, well, it's going to be downloaded for free anyway, why bother, right?
Yeah.
And it costs money to make it all.
Well, we don't make money off music no more. That used to be our main thing. Now our main thing is everything that's not music, like T-shirts, patches, and every other thing we can screen print our name on, you know. But yeah, we don't make any money hardly at all off music anymore.
You had a book released in 2003 called Destructo Maximus, mm-hmm, and is that currently in print, or are you selling books at the shows of that?
Steel Cage Records still is sitting on a bunch of them. I mean, there wasn't a big ad campaign push for it. I continue to sell them continuously at shows. We sold all the ones we brought with us so far, so I don't have any tonight or for the next 4 shows. You know, so.
Maybe another book in the future for you, since it's been a while and you've had more experiences since 2003 or so. Maybe
I always wanted to do a book that concentrated on a lot of the side things we did, like the work with Gigi Allen, the things Joe and I did separately, and and stuff like that. And, you know, that might happen. There might be a book about the whole team up of us and G.G. Allen, you know. There could be. I mean, if anyone's out there interested, you know how to get in touch with me.
Okay, speaking of G.G. Allen, and I've known you've probably been asked all the time about G.G. since it seems now he's more popular than ever. You know, usually when people die, of course, they get the popularity just increases, especially with musicians.
Yep.
Can I ask you, when did you first meet G.G.? Did he approach you? Did you guys approach them? How did that come about initially?
Joe and I read an interview with him in a issue of Maximum Rock and Roll. And we liked his arrogance, you know, and his whole, it's all about me, me, me attitude, because we had that too, you know. And I think the way it happened was Joe, you know, and Gigi printed his number and everything, his phone number, you know. Joe called him up one night and got an answering machine or something, and Joe said, "Hey, G.G. Allen, you're so big and bad, why don't you bring that 1-inch dick of yours down here to Charlotte, North Carolina?" You know, and he's like, you know, he called back one night, "I'll be down there," you know, and we got the show lined up, and of course it's one of the legendary shows of Charlotte now, and that's when we met, and we hit it off, and we stayed friends ever since, until he passed away, and I'm still friends to this day with his brother Merle.
Yeah, Merle Allen of the Murder Junkies, who are going now these days too. And that's kind of this, I don't want to call it a scene, but the type of groups that are in that sort of scene are, you know, you guys, Joe Buck, and you guys are all like a tight-knit group. Like the fans that go to your shows probably end up going to see the Murder Junkies.
I don't really understand. I mean, I know we got the GG connection, but we get lumped in with groups like the Mentors and stuff like that, and I really don't think we're the same type of thing. We kind of stayed away from the porn rock thing. We never touched on it hardly at all, if any. Someone that knows our catalog better than me might be able to dispute that, but you know, we never really got in on that. But I mean, I have respect for those groups and that they've stayed around so long and everything. But I mean, you know, I did a couple tours with the Murder Junkies as their singer, and it was just great to play with, you know, guys like Merle and Bill Weber and Dino, and later Scotty Wood and people like that. It was just a really fun time, you know. A lot of Gigi's fans, especially some of the Johnny-come-latelys, are a bunch of fucking idiots, but you know, you just got to deal with it.
yeah, just part.
They all think they know what Gigi would have wanted, or what Gigi would have preferred, or what have you. But truth is, they weren't even born, or they were getting their asses powdered by their mammy when Gigi was being laid in the ground. So who would know more? Huh?
Back in the day, you guys have always been, you know, kind of a controversial band, just because the lyrics, people take it the wrong way. It kind of goes back to the album reviews. So many people have the wrong impression about you guys. Just maybe don't even find the humor in some stuff. Take everything real serious.
A lot of people don't have a very good sense of humor, you know, and I don't. It's not that we're trying to be like a joke band or be funny, but everything we do in real life is kind of like a wink and a nudge, you know. Sometimes we're serious about stuff. I mean, you know, there's some songs we feel really serious about, but others it's just a sarcastic sense of humor, and it offends some people. Some people get it. Some people think we're just a bunch of idiots too, you know. And it doesn't matter. I like the fact that it affects so many people, different people different ways.
And kind of getting on that point there, did you ever have problems in the past getting shows booked in the South or anywhere for that matter? Did you ever have anybody that kind of frowned upon you because the word on the street, they heard this or that about ANTiSEEN?
Oh yeah, we've been blacklisted from labels, clubs, magazines. Other bands wouldn't associate with us because they thought we were one way or another, And usually when people get to meet us and actually work with us, they realize, that it's not like their preconceived notions.
Right.
We're actually pretty professional.
So these days, as opposed to early 80s or when you guys were, maybe say 20 years ago, is it like it used to be where it's a lot easier nowadays just to book anything? Because the controversy's kind of maybe over with, and so many things have happened since then with crazier bands or, Gigi, of course, on the scene. Just that's about as intense it'll get. But these days, is it pretty smooth sailing for you?
The controversy is toned down. People that were upset by things we did before are like us, older, wiser, maybe know how to take things a little better. We're working with booking agents. We're working with real record labels, and it's. I find it much easier now. See, like Joe and I used to do all our booking. Well, actually, Tom O'Keefe started doing all our booking, our old bass player, and then Joe and I were doing some of it. And we worked with various booking agents until we settled with Bucket City, and because Joe and I just don't have the aptitude for getting on the phone and calling people and emailing back, asking this, just getting schedules straight and things like that. So it's so much easier these days than it was maybe 15 years ago.
I was going to ask you, so since you guys have been around 28 years, what gives you the motivation and the drive to continue? Do you ever, obviously it's not for the money. So is it just the passion for the music? Is it as strong as it ever been? Is that what keeps you guys going? Because you're not on a big tour bus and you don't have that luxury. You guys are still, pushing across the states in just an average Joe kind of way. What keeps you guys going after?
Joe and I, well, actually me, I almost packed it all in at the 25th anniversary. That was going to be it. But then we met, we had known John and Phil Keller for a while, and they showed interest in wanting to continue to play because we were playing with a couple guys that didn't really want to play anymore. Not that they didn't like the band, they just didn't want to play, and Joe and I did, and when it looked like, we were thinking, God, we're going to have to, audition people, meet people and all, and to me, it was just a big headache. And we just decided, after we heard that they wanted to play, we said, okay, we'll give it a shot. And man, their youthful energy and enthusiasm was contagious to me and Joe. I mean, we'll probably go until we just can't. We're not putting a shelf time on it, shelf life. If these guys play for a few years and decide they've had enough, then we'll find other people, and if Joe gets mad at me and quits, and
is this a precursor to maybe more shows throughout the United States? Since you're here in Denver, you're going, you're touring, you're hitting up a few more places after this. Are your future plans to hit more places in the States, or what places how about Europe? We're
going to try to hit as many places all over the world that we can while we're still doing it. Like I said, we don't know how long it's going to go. We're not putting a time limit. There's still a lot of things we would all love to do, and we're going to try to see that we get to do it. Hopefully.
I wanted to touch really quick on Chris Radek. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Radek. And it's only been recently I discovered a real sad story what happened. How were you guys? And I saw pictures that I believe he took with you and others. How were you affiliated with him? And were you guys good friends? Were you guys?
Yeah, we were really good friends. We were roommates for a long time. And we were, of course, one of his more frequent photo subjects. He was an official photographer for GWAR, and he kind of, became official photographer for us and Buzz Oven back in the early 90s all the way up into the early 2000s.
Well, the last question for you is, how do you decide, what do you get, maybe a 45-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute set list?
45.
How in the heck do you decide what songs to play? You guys have such a huge catalog.
Oh, man,
Who
it's
came
like-
up with it
it's
this
like-
time around? I mean,
Joe and I, well, I guess I came up with the main part. Come on in. I came up with the main part of it, and then the guys John and Phil would say, "Hey, we want to play this," or we'd like to play that, and we'd be either or okay, we'll give it a shot, and it's kind of a joint effort. I think all of us have a say so what we want to play or what we want to stop playing, for so long, and the next go around it'll be switched around quite a bit. So.
all right. Is there anything you want to say to ANTiSEEN fans or anybody out there that needs to be said that we haven't heard?
I just want to thank everyone that has been fans in the past, currently, or will be in the future. That's one of the main reasons we continue on, meeting all these great bands that said that we were an influence on them, like Zeke, for instance. They Mark and Donnie from Zeke said if there was no ANTiSEEN, there would have been no Zeke. And, things like that may not put money in the bank, but it sure does a lot for the heart, So sometimes things like that make it worth going on.
I hear you. Well, thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the tour. I appreciate you taking out the time for this interview. Thank you.
ANTiSEEN is here to stay.